First, I'd like to begin by thanking Spirit Lake for canceling their 4th of July as I recommended last time I spoke here. That showed true initiative and forward thinking. I spoke with Central Planning, and actually they are now considering some LMI on Main Street in Spirit Lake because of the initiative they showed by canceling 4th of July. So just want to make a note there. Now, regarding the discussion tonight, I wanted to note that during the May 10th planning, or the May 10th meeting with the Planning Commission, there was a short discussion about perhaps banning discussion during this process, and as the mayor knows, I'm fully on board with something along those lines. Ways to kind of like dampen the public's ability to comment on these things included making the meetings really long. I really like this kind of creative thinking. I would suggest just moving, as we're doing tonight, public comment to the very end of the meetings and then dragging the meetings out. Now, in California, for instance, we're just going to virtual meetings when convenient. I think that's something that we might also consider doing here. I wanted to note on that topic that the American Planning Association did a study, a survey, and Americans generally answered that they didn't really know what they're talking about anyway when it came to topics like this, and so I think that certainly backs up this notion of just eliminating them from the process as much as possible. Now, we have big projects coming. Everyone knows that. We're well on our way of looking like Portland. I think this tool, this blunt tool that we can now use if we pass the General Development Agreement, the development agreement, will allow us, I think, to favor big national developers. I think we want to favor the national developers that have BlackRock on speed dial so that they can just sell subtract housing to BlackRock. The way we do this is through contract zoning. Now, I think through contract zoning, this is what allows us to kind of negotiate and change zoning when convenient. Now, I think that's something we could definitely consider doing, especially for the bigger developers who come here. Now, I believe that the development agreement we're discussing tonight was actually the idea of a Spokane developer lawyer. Now, we should take more ideas from Washington, Oregon, California lawyers. I think that would be an important step towards moving things forward. Here's another idea. Now, I think something we can do is just ban single-family housing. They're doing this, actually. In Spokane, there's a movement to ban single-family housing in Spokane. There's some background first. Minneapolis became the first major city to ban single-family zoning in 2019. That same year, Oregon passed a similar law statewide. Perhaps the most significant change came in California. A new law that eliminates single-family zoning in California went into effect. Now, in Spokane, Ben Stucker, he's the executive director of the Spokane Low-Income Housing Consortium. Now, he said the historical context of single-family zoning makes it an equity and a race issue. He also said there's zero reason we shouldn't start a formal process of eliminating single-family zoning now. Now, Councilwoman Katie Burke said single-family zoning is a racist policy, and we could do so much more for our communities. But I like the way Vox puts it, quote, for those localities that cannot be convinced, cajoled, or financially incentivized, more punitive action is necessary. It's time to sue the suburbs. We've talked about the carrots, now here's the stick. The Biden administration must open up the floodgates for civil rights organizations, developers, and its own Justice Department to begin suing the worst offenders of exclusionary zoning. Now, my final big idea tonight would just be one new zone, and it would just be P. It would essentially just be public zoning, and I think we could use this to essentially just expand and abolish private property in Coeur d'Alene altogether. That might seem like big thinking, but I think it would be convenient, and it would get rid of some of the kind of medicine outsiders that we have to put up with. So thank you, everyone, for your time tonight, and have a great evening.
Mr. O'Connell mentioned something about public comment during this process, and I had received an email during the Planning Commission meeting about someone who had concerns about public comment. But the way I read the code, these are public hearings.
They are, and I'm not sure what that was referring to.
Okay, but it just to let you know it was out there.
Yep, okay.
But the public can comment. As
Correct.
much as we don't like it,
Correct.
the public can come.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Maybe it's good to have real long meetings and discourage people.
Sounds good. We always table it and wear them down. That's a joke. Okay.
You know, we say no one speaks, sorry. No public input.
Motion to approve.
All right.
This is an agreement between a developer and the city. Does the public really have jurisdiction over that agreement? Because it's between two parties. Why is a third party now introduced?
What third party?
the public,
Having a public
the
hearing.
public,
Having a public
the
hearing.
public on a two-party agreement. Why is the third party introduced?
It's not necessary. It's,
Okay.
the statute does not require that.
One question I have for the group to see if, what we think about process. So as Randy was saying, the state statutes don't require that we have a public hearing. I think if it's done with a development request coming to you, it makes sense. It's just kind of tied together. But in the instance where we have a condition in with a project and we say it should have a development agreement, to have to schedule another hearing seems a little clunky in the process.